Hi, and welcome back to the podcast. I'm Andrew.
I'm Kevin.
I'm Caitlin.
And we're here to talk about more articles from the Green page, cmuptm.blogspot.com. Go check it out right now.
It's very good.
First article in this session, there's a great photo montage from Jim Henson's Creature Shop on the Green page this week. Some things that I totally forgot about, like the very first one, the dinosaur baby. I'd forgotten about that sitcom.
But there he is, the little guy.
I'd forgotten about that dinosaur sitcom.
Yeah.
It's from, what's it called? Jamie and Adam tested. The Mythbusters guys have their little blog. It's so cute.
It's so cute. Yeah, I mean, you should check it out. There's
What do you say? You should just look at
What do you
it.
say? Yeah, Jim Henson's really great. Like, yeah.
He's great.
Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah.
I mean, you should really should look at it. And we have remembered dinosaurs, which is like very important.
Yeah, it's so strange. How long was that on? Because I definitely remember watching it at some point in my life. I guess I must have been in middle school or something.
Yeah, I was young. I remember it being a big part of my nightmares. So I think I was pretty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, some really cool pictures from everything from, obviously the Muppets and Sesame Street to Dark Crystal, and just also some cool shots of their shop and the machines that they have going there. Actually, it's a pretty old school looking shop. It's not nearly as high tech as I would have expected it to have become in this day and age.
I guess that was the thing that did strike me in this gallery of images, was that, like, I thought, oh, I could do that potentially. I mean, not now, like, but it's just like, oh, this isn't a big mystery. It's people who are artists making cool things.
Right.
We actually had somebody come to talk to us who works on Sesame Street, who was talking about using just foam
Did they tell you how to
basically as
get to
forms.
Sesame Street?
He told me how to get there, and I completely forgot. But I do
So
remember
that I had to.
how to look like I belong there. But it's like they're all like felt coverings on them. It's just felt coverings over foam. I was like, oh. It's magic when you see them all together. It's like, oh, I could do this. So that was kind of cool. And seeing that in this, that it's like, oh, it's just materials in cool combinations.
Right.
That's great.
Yeah.
It's not CGI or magic.
Well, that's what's so great about it, right?
Yeah.
And I think going back to our last session talking about Michael Curry design and the line from the Super Bowl halftime party, again, it's just surprising what you can still do and what people will still pay lots and lots of money to have you do.
Yeah.
That is just sticks and blocks of foam.
Yeah.
Right? Like it doesn't
Kinda
all
like
have to
paper.
be this crazy, expensive, media savvy, digital blah blah blah. It can still just be what we all know how to do.
The some of us love
I
the
don't
blah blah
know.
blah.
I don't know how to do it. I know how to do
Right.
I know how to do
Yeah.
I know how to do the digital blah blah blah.
He's
Yeah,
very good.
that's good too. People like that. But going on to another, the latest installment in the Midnight Rider saga.
That is the word for it, I think.
It is. It's from Variety.com. The article is called Midnight Rider, Hearing Set on Filmmakers' Appeal of OSHA Violations by Ted Johnson. It's basically exactly what the title says it is. And if you aren't familiar with it, we've talked about it several times on this.
So if you're keeping track of all of our podcasts, which I'm sure you are.
I'm sure you're taking copious notes.
You'll know.
So that you'll be very familiar.
Yeah, so this case is from last February when one camera woman was killed and 8 crew members were injured whilst on the set of this film Midnight Rider when they were shooting on a bridge
It was train tracks.
trains.
Yeah, it was
it
a
was a
bridge.
bridge.
It was a bridge. Yeah, for trains. And a train came and it was bad.
Yeah, there was like a metal bed that exploded basically and got turned into like literal shrapnel that was in people's bodies. So it was not great.
So the filmmakers right now were hit with like $75,000 in fines, which they're now appealing. They also are facing charges of criminal trespassing and involuntary manslaughter.
Wait, in a separate case. This is specifically a federal commission to address the appeal that the company has made to the $75,000 fines. $5,000 of which is for violation of not providing adequate protection for falling off the sides
That
of
was
the
like
bridge.
the quote
The
serious violation.
But the worst one is the willful violation, which is for not protecting their staff from moving trains on train tracks.
Well, I mean, it was actually, it was deemed a willful violation because they knew they were not allowed to shoot on the bridge and went there anyway. And then while there, didn't take like any safety precautions.
Yeah.
They said, there's this quote from the article, where the filmmakers said they, quote, took reasonable steps to ensure the safety of all crew present on site for filming at the incident location. The filmmakers added that they relied on information provided, quote, by others as to the condition of the railroad tracks. And it's like, what?
But they didn't even take the most reasonable precaution you would, which is put a PA 10 minutes down the tracks with a fucking walkie. Excuse me, with a walkie, right? And be like, hey guys, there's a train coming.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I feel like there's so many reasonable precautions they could have made. And like, I mean, the biggest one, if you are OSHA, is just saying, you have to follow these rules, and you didn't. So it's like, I feel like they're totally in the right. In this, cause it's obviously you weren't OSHA, not the filmmakers of healing. Because it's like, you could have done a lot more. And, you know, the most obvious of them, since something horrible did happen, is you could have followed the rules.
I don't even understand why they're pleading not guilty to these charges. Like, how can you claim, like, after, like, so many of your crew were injured and one of them died, that, like, we didn't do anything wrong.
They probably have, I mean, it doesn't look good. They probably have, like, a lawyer, I would guess, like, as part of their staff, or a retainer or something, who they're just saying, well, you need something to do, so you might as well fight this. That's what I feel like.
Yeah, I think it's just what you do. You know, you just always appeal. It doesn't, I don't think it, you know, they can't think that they have a case.
Yeah, that seems crazy.
And I'm interested to see how the Federal Railroad Administration, if they do, come down in a different way on them for not following the FRA regulations about, because I've actually worked on train tracks before and had to go through, 8-hour training essentially to have the FRA sign off that I know how to lock out a track, how to like signal a train, like what train signals mean, all this crazy stuff that you wouldn't think you'd need to know.
Yeah.
But the FRA says that if you're going to be working even within 25 feet of a train track, that's what you have to go through this training. So clearly they didn't do any of that either.
Yeah.
So I'm just interested to see if the FRA at some point will also take over some, or levy some sort of fine or whatever. So yeah, again, not over. Hopefully somebody will really actually have to pay the piper on this, is what I think. And plus, like, 75 grand, that's what really makes me a little bit mad about it too, is like, I think they're probably appealing it more on the admission of guilt reason than, because if they just went and paid it, in another court of law, I don't really understand law that well, but somebody might use that as evidence to say, well, you paid the fine, you must have known that you were being negligent. You know what I mean? So, like, of course they have to appeal, not to seem like they're like, yeah, we're just guilty.
Yeah.
Which they are.
Which they are, and it just seems like, these are the consequences, and they're not that dire.
Exactly, 75 grand.
This money and...
Pay up.
Yeah, come on, dudes.
We'll see, and I'm sure we'll be talking about this again.
Yes,
as
no
the case
doubt.
continues to develop.
But speaking of righting wrongs...
Righting wrongs in the world.
Let's talk about this article from Salon.com.
Salon.com, one of my favorite.
Your faves? It's called
This
California Takes on the NFL. New bill would force teams to pay cheerleaders minimum wage by Katie McDonough. The article is basically that a lot of cheerleaders in the NFL do not make minimum wage. They make nothing or $5 an hour. Yeah, some of them work for free. I mean, I mean, unless it's like the whatever, there's NFL and then the next tier, maybe it's that one that they work for free. But there's like some terrible working conditions, like minimum $5 an hour is not even guaranteed.
And they don't get overtime. They don't get workers' comp.
They get nothing.
And I don't think they even get paid for like rehearsals. Basically, they just. I think they only get paid for field time.
Yeah.
So
the case comes out of it's a state representative in San Diego, Lorena Gonzalez, who's bringing bringing the lawsuit.
Well, no, she's not bringing a lawsuit. She's introducing legislation.
Very good.
After Susie Sanchez, who is she's a Raiderette cheerleader for the Oakland Raiders. She's bringing a lawsuit because she's alleging that she was paid $5 an hour. So Lorena Gonzalez, who is herself a former cheerleader, introduced this legislation that would make the NFL pay their cheerleaders minimum wage, overtime, and workers' comp. it's kind of insane that the NFL is paying like millions of dollars for their players, and they can't. And even as Ms. Gonzalez says, even the guys who is like pouring your beer for you in the stands, he gets minimum wage.
Yeah, and the mascot gets paid a lot more than them.
Yeah, 30 to 65, I think was the range.
Yeah,
nationally.
$30,000 to $65,000 a year. And she was like, and they don't. She's like, I think that what they're doing is important, but they're not working
It's
as
very,
hard.
come on, it's very important.
Very important.
Mascots are very important.
I know, but like they're not working as hard or as long as the cheerleaders are on the field. I was gonna call it on the stage, on the grassy stage, and that they don't have as many practices like as these cheerleaders. So basically, it's like a raw deal.
It's been a rough year for the NFL, man. It's like one thing after
Right.
another.
Kid first was Katy Perry, and now this. How do you think? I wish the article had discussed how they get around basic labor laws. Like they must classify them as like volunteers or something. Well, yeah, you get, right? But like they must classify them in some other way, like interns or like God knows what. I know that the Raiderettes is it's an open tryout. Like anybody could go in off the street. I mean, you or I or anybody. And try out.
I can be a Raiderette.
I think you can try out.
Potentially, or it could be that they get a flat fee because they're talking about $5 an hour, but maybe that's calculated out of a larger sum. Because I've had jobs where I've been essentially an employee who's there, 40 to 80 hours a week or whatever, but I'm getting a flat fee. So then once I divide it out, depending on how terrible.
Yeah, that's probably true.
So it could be like, oh, we'll give you $1,000 for the season or something, where you're like,
that sounds like a bad idea.
Oh, I certainly like how like adjunct professors are paid like $2,000 like a semester.
Yeah.
I don't know how the hell that's legal.
Is that possibly real?
Yeah.
That's horrible.
For like a class. Like,
Right.
Yeah, it's insane.
Well,
so this legislation would bring wages for cheerleaders up to $9 an hour.
Which is still below NIT's living wage, their living wage calculator, which says that you need $11.20 an hour.
As a single adult with
no
children, you
So,
you can cover the basics for $11.20 an hour. So,
baby steps.
Better.
Baby
That's
steps.
better, but not awesome. So we hope that works out.
Yeah, I mean,
we're cheering for you.
very good, very good.
You're so right.
Well,
myself.
we're gonna be back here with a few more articles in just a few minutes. Kevin's gonna work on his pop and lock to try out for the Raiderettes next season, and we'll see you for another session. Please join us. And again, cmuptm.blogspot.com for the articles we've spoken about. Okay.
Bye.
Good night.